In this week's episode of Victorian Undercover Proprietor, Sir Titus Salt has gone into the mills where he made his fortune. He's disguised as one of the workers to see what life is really like for his employees.
So, what's it like to work in, mate? This factory?
Noisy!
To the country, it's too noisy!
No, it's noisy! And smoggy too, it gets into the lungs!
Sorry? I see, the smog gets into your lungs, mate.
No, it gets into the lungs!
What?
What?
Titus has finally got the message about the terrible conditions his employees work in, and their living conditions aren't much better.
Wife, kids, here's the new bloke I was telling you about. New bloke, wife, kids.
Pleased to meet you. Could I possibly use your lavatory?
Oh, what a story.
Lavatory. A small room outside you use to, do your business.
Your business?
No, it's not my business. I'm just a humble worker.
Oh, well, you said do your business.
Yes, a toilet. A small room you use to poo in.
Disgusting. Just go in the backyard like everybody else.
Okay.
Oh, will you not stay for your tea?
I'd love to. What is for tea?
I think it's nothing tonight. We can't afford it. Luckily, we're not that hungry because all the cotton fluff from the mill gets in our bellies.
I wish you wouldn't do that.
I'm sorry.
Not wanting to spend any longer living with them than he absolutely has to, Titus has decided it's already time to reveal his true identity to the Hovel family.
I expect you're wondering why I brought you here. I'm not a humble mill worker. I am, in fact, the owner of these here mills, Sir Titus Salt.
No!
I knew it. I knew that were a disguise as soon as I saw the daft fake beard.
Ow!
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Over this past week, day, I've experienced firsthand the hardships of working in one of my mills. I've seen how tough it is for you to live in such a horrible, dirty, filthy, cramped, disgusting little hovel.
Steady on.
So I'm going to build a new village. And I'm going to call it Saltaire. And it'll be a model village.
We'll never fit in it.
Not that sort of model village. It'll be the model of all the village should be. Everything you could possibly want will be there. Fresh air, hospital, a church, even a reading room.
We can't read.
Aye, but your children will be able to. For there will be a school there.
Aww.
And you'll even have your own lavatory.
Why would anyone want a small room to poo in?
And I shall build a new cleaner mill nearby where you can work for me.
I'm not being funny, but what's in it for you?
Well, happy, healthy people make better workers.
You got yourself a deal.
All right.
Just one question.
Fire away, my friend.
You sure that's not a fake beard?
Don't push it.
Next week on Victorian Undercover Proprietor, Lord Lever reveals his plans to build his factory workers' houses, which have bathrooms.
What's a bathroom?
It's a small room with a bath in it.
What's a bath?
It's where you wash yourself with soap.
What's soap?
This is going to be harder than I thought.
A number of Victorian bosses, Sir Titus Salt, the Lever brothers, Joseph Rowntree and George Cadbury, created cleaner, better accommodation for their factory employees. But did any of them spare a thought for how this would affect the factory rats? Not one. It's an absolute scandal!
Here's the tale of me, Matilda, and my fight with cousin Stephen to succeed Henry first throne.
My wife's also called Matilda.
Quite confusing, cause we choose to claim Matilda's throne's our own.
I'm Henry, that Matilda's son. You got that? Here's the story of our spat.
Starts in 1135 when King Henry, my father, died. And I think you'll find named me Matilda as his heir. But his nephew Stephen said
that crown should be upon my head. I'm a man and men come first. What? It's only fair.
had married Geoffrey of Anjou, stuck in France, not Waterloo, and Steve without a voulez-vous took throne from me. Should be dancing queen.
Oh, stop causing such a scene.
Gimme crown and take a chance on me. I'm heir to the throne, not you.
I think you'll get it back now that I'd like to see.
Oh, I do.
So Uncle Stephen stayed as boss. Who should be ruler, Mama?
Mia.
Here we go again. Sadly, my darling Matilda caught a fever and it killed her. I gave up my dream to build a royal dynasty. When my son died, had no heir, which was a bind. Give me crown, 'cause next in line it's me. You can have it when I'm done. So impressed Matilda never did make queen.
The throne went to my son.
Knowing Mum, knowing you. Everybody happy? Good.
Hello and welcome to the news at When. When, Tudor times, when England broke with Rome and got its own church, which really pleased Henry VIII and really upset the Pope. Here with more details is Bob Hale with the Catholic Report. Bob.
Thank you, Sam. Well, there it is, Tudor England. That's Henry VIII right there. And as you can tell, it's wall-to-wall Catholics as far as the eye can see, much as it has been for, let's say 900 years. But Henry's got a bit of a problem because he wants a divorce, which is exactly the sort of thing that the Catholic Church doesn't like. So he asks the Pope if he can have a divorce, and he says, no way, Jose, which is weird because his name's Henry. So what does Henry do? He breaks away from the Pope, there he goes, and he starts up his own church here in England called, unsurprisingly, the Church of England. And since he's in charge of it, he basically grants himself a divorce and marries Anne Boleyn, who's a Protestant, meaning she believes in the Bible, but not in the Pope. Now, since the country's turning Protestant, Henry starts being a bit mean to the Catholics. And by a bit mean, I mean he executes them, closes their monasteries, and takes all their money. Then he gets married another 4 times, and he dies. Well, that's what 6 wives will do for you. And that, believe it or not, was the easy bit, as we can see if we look at the religionometer. So, the next king after Henry is someone from your school. No, not really. It's Edward VI, who's only 9 years old. And he is a Protestant, that's right. And he's a king for ages and ages and ages until he finally dies at the ripe old age of 15. Yep, 15, when he hands over to Lady Jane Grey, another Protestant, who gets to enjoy ruling the country for a whopping 9 days before she's overthrown by Queen Mary, a Catholic this time. So Catholic, in fact, that she burns 300 Protestants at the stake. Although, strictly speaking, that's not being Catholic, that's just being horrid. So England is Catholic again, and everyone can just sit down and get used to it. But not for long, because here comes Queen Elizabeth. And you've guessed it, she's a Protestant. She even fights off a Catholic invasion, the Spanish Armada. Then Elizabeth is followed by James I, who's a Scottish Protestant. Or is it a Protestant? Either way, he's a Protestant, but he likes Catholics. At least he does until one tries to blow him up. Naughty, naughty Guy Fawkes. And after James comes Charles I, who acts like a Catholic, but basically doesn't care. He just wants to be in charge, which he is until he's overthrown by that chap, huh? Who's not a Catholic or a Protestant. He's not even a king. Seriously, he's Oliver Cromwell, a Puritan, which is like a really strict Protestant. So strict, in fact, that he chops Charlie's head off and then he bans music, theatre, dancing, Christmas, hedgehogs and fun, except not hedgehogs. Then he dies, hooray, and we get the monarchs back. Woohoo, it's Charles II, who is loads of fun. He's also a Protestant, but he converts to Catholicism on his deathbed. So he's a Catholic, but only for a couple of minutes. Then comes his brother, James II, who is a Catholic, always has been, and not just for a couple of minutes, but he doesn't like Parliament. So they chuck him out and bring in his daughter and her husband from Holland, that's William and Mary, and they decide that England is definitely Protestant, as it is today, but only after 185 years of going Catholic, Protestant, Catholic, Protestant, Catholic, Protestant, Catholic, Protestant, Catholic, Protestant. You're getting sleepy. You're getting very sleepy. Hand back to Sam. 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 Sam.
Hello and welcome to the news at When. When, ancient Egyptian times, over 3,000 years ago, when the ruler of Egypt was a 9-year-old boy called Tutankhamun. He had a very strange family. For more details, here's Bob Hale with the Pharaoh Report.
Thank you, Sam. Well, it's 1341 BC, and we're over here in ancient Egypt, where a wickle baby has just been born. And his name is Tutankhamun, though he's also known as Tutankhamen, Tutankhamon, Tutankhaten, Amenhotep, and Steve, and King Tut, though probably not Steve. And King Tut's dad was also a king, a pharaoh called Akhenaten. At least we think that's his dad. It's very hard to be sure because it was so long ago that no one can really remember. Not even my Nan, and she's really old, though she certainly doesn't look it. Love you, Nan. What we do know is that when King Tut was just 6 years old, Akhenaten died. Yes, his daddy became a mummy, which is a very complex operation. And King Tut's big brother, Smenki, becomes pharaoh. and then promptly dies, only to be replaced by his sister Nephi, who then promptly dies, meaning that at just 9 years old, Tutankhamun becomes pharaoh, which I think is fair enough. All right, no more jokes. Of course, running a country is no job for a 9-year-old because it's far too boring, so King Tut's uncle turns up, a chap called I, and he says he will keep an eye on things. Sorry, forgot. So Uncle I runs the country so that King Tut can get on with doing all the fun stuff that kids do, like playing games, going to school and getting married. Yep, getting married. And if you thought that was weird, to keep his royal bloodline pure, his new wife is also his sister. And she used to be his stepmum, so it's double. Anyway, King Tut grows up, Uncle I hands over power to Mr. and Mrs. Tut, and they rule Egypt together as husband and wife, mum, sister, and that's the end of that. Or so we thought, but the history books tell us that Uncle I didn't want to give up power, so he killed King Tut by bashing him on the head, a little something like that. Yep, that'll do it. Except that didn't do it. No, it turns out the history books got it wrong, and King Tut actually died from an infected broken leg, leaving poor old Mrs. Tut with a broken heart and the crown of Egypt, which of course Uncle I wants for himself. And how does he plan to get it? Well, by marrying Mrs. Tut, even though she's his granddaughter, which is times this much. Woo! But Mrs. Tut has other ideas. She decides to marry a foreign prince called Zananza instead because he's got such a cool name. But sadly, Zananza gets cold feet. Cold everything, in fact, because he dies. Yes, killed on his way to Egypt by a very jealous Uncle I, who then finally marries his granddaughter, and they live happily ever after, ruling Egypt together for ages and ages, and that is definitely the end of that. No question, cross my heart, Scout's honour, swear on my nan's life. And what a life she's led. Born in Dublin to a blind darts player, she became the first woman ever to swim across Ireland. And would you believe it, she's 99 today! So come on, everyone, happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, Nanny Bob! Happy birthday to you! And back over to Sam to blow out the candles. Sam!
Putrid pirates! Us pirates could be dead hard to understand. Especially for those people we held captive. Arrgh.
Do they know who I am? Who's in charge here?
Heave to me, hearties!
Are you the man in charge?
That be me, you landlubber!
I'm sorry, what was that?
I am reasonably familiar with pirate parlance. Perhaps I could translate.
Proceed.
A landlubber basically means someone who is clumsy while aboard a ship.
If that's what you mean, why don't you just speak properly?
Silence! Scurvy knave!
Oh, he's at it again. Translation, please.
Scurvy is a nasty disease you can get at sea, and knave, well, he's basically calling you a villain, sir.
If he wants to call me a scabby villain, why didn't he just say so?
Well, shiver me timbers, I'll have this bilge rat keel haul!
Well, if a ship gets a sudden blast from a cannon, then the wooden masts or timbers are shaken or shivered. It's kind of an expression of surprise. And a bilge is the very bottom of a ship. Dirty, stinking place filled with rats, hence bilge rat.
And keel hauled?
A traditional pirate punishment where your feet are tied and you are dragged under the water, rubbing against the barnacled bottom of the ship. You'd be torn to pieces, sir.
That threat certainly would have had me quaking in my boots. If I'd had any idea what it meant, speak English!
Paul, sew his mouth up.
Translation, please.
Sew his mouth up.
Well, shiver me timbers. I think I've just filled my keel with bilge.
I'm getting the hang of it, mate.